Hello, Ghost of Lilacs here with the Stardew Valley Challenge. This series was recorded after the 1.6 update I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch with 0 mods. There are many pizza-related Stardew challenges. This is my own with my own set of rules. All you need to know right off the bat is that my goal is to have 1 million gold, cash on hand, not total earned. I have severely limited the types of crops and animal products I'm allowed to cultivate. They are pizza related. I must choose the Joja route. All of the rules are outlined in the description below if you'd like to take a closer look at them. Let's get started. This is Ghost, who lives on Pizza Farm. Her favorite thing is pineapples. So on day 1, I'd woken up in Grandpa's house, and the Mayor Lewis had been kind enough to leave me some parsnip seeds to plant. I will not be planting these seeds, but before I can sell them, I cleaned up the farm a bit. I chopped down some trees and crafted my first chest. I made my way into town, stopping to say good morning to everyone I came across before I sold my parsnip seeds. With this meager bit of money, I bought some cauliflower seeds. These seeds are very pricey, but they are included with seeds I've permitted myself to grow, being as cauliflower crust pizza is a very real thing. I returned home and planted and watered my cauliflower. You may have noticed that I started planting in a very specific pattern. This will make it much easier when it's time for me to craft sprinklers. While I cleared the farm, I came across some mixed seeds. I planted them and I'm allowed to sell, gift, or eat the produce they yield. But I'm not allowed to make more in a seed maker or buy the seeds directly. I foraged as I went, as I'm allowing myself to sell, gift, or eat whatever I find in the wild as well. It was getting into the evening when I just missed greeting Elliot before he retired to his sea shack. There was still time to meet Sebastian, so I went into the mountains and said hello to a few more villagers before returning to my farm for some late-night weeding. I came across some carrot seeds that will be very useful when I need to venture into the mines, so I plopped those into the ground, gave them a good watering, and went to bed for the night. On day 2, I watered my plants and met Willie on the pier for a free fishing rod. I lucked out. There was a spawning spot directly next to the fisherman, and I was able to hook a few fishies. I sold them to Willie and made a little bit of pocket money. On my way to buy more cauliflower seeds, I ran into Jas and Elliot, so that was everyone met. I gave the good mare a daffodil and bought my seeds. I was back to being broke, but at least I had a way of making some money while I waited for the cauliflower to grow. I fished a little more that evening, and right before heading home, I fished up a chest with rice shoots. Those would be going in the ground with the wild seeds I had found, as every little bit helps financially. I had reached fishing level 1 and foraging level 1. It was a good day. I woke up on day 3 to a dreary mess. I knew that I wanted to fish, but I didn't fancy messing about with the river. Catfish spawn on rainy days, and my fishing skill wasn't high enough for me to feel confident in my ability to catch them. Instead, I knocked down a few trees, crafted a chest, and went to the mountain lake, where I took advantage of 3 separate fish spawning spots. I breezed past level 2 fishing onto level 3. On day 4, I was a bit tired of fishing, so I focused on my farm. I cleared some of the rocks and weeds, then traveled south to the forest where I did a little fishing when a spawning spot appeared. I didn't have much to show for my effort, but I knocked down some trees and broke down the branches, rocks, and weeds that were congesting the woods. Leah seemed to be following me around the woods as I cleared the debris, so I stopped to say hello to her. I made very little money that day, but I did reach mining level 1. On day 5, Marnie was outside of my farm and wondered if I would adopt the stray cat she found. Of course I said yes, and the little black cat came to live on my farm. I named her Blinky. I received a letter informing me that the caves were open, but before treading to the mountains, I watered my crops and harvested my first carrots. These will be useful for replenishing energy and health in the mines, so the timing couldn't be better. I grabbed my fishing chest from the lake and headed into the cave. Marlin, the head of the Adventurer Guild, introduced himself and generously provided me with a rusty sword. He said something about me having to prove myself before entering the guild building, but I wasn't concerned. I had picked up a community quest from Clint requesting copper ore, so I was ready to get spelunking for the good stuff. It was a neutral luck day, and I didn't have much difficulty finding the ladders. On floor 7, I scored a glow ring and sneakers. On level 10, a chest contained a femur, a club-type weapon I'd never encountered before. As it was capable of twice as much damage as the rusty sword, I was happy to take it. I left with twice as much copper as required to fulfill Clint's quest. I headed to the saloon to find him and turned it in. The rest of the evening, I foraged for more spring onions and cleaned up some stone on my farm. I also planted some mixed seeds I found from the cave. I woke up on day 6 with Clint on my doorstep. He had heard that I had obtained some copper ore and generously provided me with blueprints to craft a furnace. I will need to smelt plenty of bars to upgrade my tools in the future, so this will be invaluable. Marlin had sent me a letter following up on his proving yourself hint. He wanted me to kill 10 green slimes. That was perfect, because today was a good luck day and I was already planning on heading to the mines. After filling Blinky's water bowl and giving her a pet, I was off to the forest. There were plenty of spring onions, so I stocked up for the mines. I stopped by Pierre's, and 2,000 gold later, I had an expanded rucksack. Hooray! I didn't have the easiest time traversing the mines today. It took some work to find the ladders. I discovered level 18 was infested with green slimes, and while that was helpful towards proving myself, I didn't want to pass out. My mining skill was not high enough to unlock the staircase recipe, or I would have crafted one to bypass the slimy mess. I returned to the surface to discover I had to kill just one more slime to enter the Adventurers Guild, so I did just that. I sold my rusty sword to Marlin and headed home. I sold some forage I had picked up and planted the mixed seeds I had found in the mines. I reached foraging level 2, mining level 2, now I can create staircases, and combat level 1. On day 7, I watered my crops and went to the ocean for some fishing. The weather forecast predicted that tomorrow would be a rainy day, perfect for upgrading my watering can. Although I had recently spent nearly all of my money on my rucksack upgrade, I was confident that I could make most of that back today, and the remainder the following day. Partway through the day, I sold my fish to Willie and went to Clint's so the blacksmith could break open some geodes for me. I already had a dwarf scroll and some minerals to donate to the museum, so I brought those with me as well. When I entered the library, Gunther accepted my donations and rewarded me with some cauliflower seeds. I was on my way home to plant them and stopped when I realized it was the Mayor Lewis's birthday. That morning, I had picked up a fetch quest where he requested a Joja Cola. I gave him a daffodil I had found that morning and returned to my farm. Once my seeds were planted and watered, I went to the mayor's house to drop off the Joja Cola. I fished in town for the rest of the evening and decided that I was going to hold on to an anchovy I caught earlier that day to create a fish pond once I had the money. I reached level 4 fishing. I awoke to the gentle sound of raindrops on my farmhouse roof on day 8. I harvested 2 parsnips, grabbed 5 copper bars, and headed into town to do some fishing before Clint's shop opened. I had made enough money to have my watering can upgraded, and as tomorrow's forecast also called for rain, I jumped at the chance to have it upgraded. Once I dropped off the watering can, I traveled to the docks to continue working on my fishing skill. I had picked up a fetch quest for George, who requested some seaweed, so I fished in the ocean for the rest of the afternoon. I caught a few treasure chests, one with some rice shoots, but overall it was a fairly ordinary day. Later that afternoon, I dropped off the seaweed for George, who gave me a prize ticket. I redeemed it at the Mayor Lewis's house and received 12 carrot seeds. I returned home to plant these with my rice shoots. I was running low on energy, so I went to bed a little earlier than usual. I reached farming level 1. On day 9, I received a letter from my dad, who sent me $500. Thanks, Dad! I crafted my first scarecrow and another chest. I also crafted some spring seeds from the forage I had collected. I left the farm and considered fishing, but after an unsuccessful ordeal involving a very angry catfish, I sulked into the cindersap forest for some spring onions. I headed into the mountains, collecting more forage as I went. After a little fishing, I decided to go mining. At level 20, I found an elf blade, which, unfortunately, was worse than the femur I've been swinging at slimes, so I sold it to Marlin. Around level 24, I got into another angry ordeal, this time with flying insects. I dove into the mines a little longer, made it to floor 25 before turning in for the night. Day 10 proved to be a very busy day. I crafted more copper bars and sold some of my forage and crops. When I went into town, the Mayor Lewis showed me the decrepit community center. I picked up my watering can and dropped off my pickaxe at Clint's. It was Vincent's birthday, so I gave him a daffodil. It was back to the farm as Penny had put in a fetch request for a leek, and I had to water my crops with my new and improved watering can. I constructed an additional scarecrow and took the scenic route back into town by way of the mountains. When I passed by the community center, I stopped in to get the community center quest going. I will not be completing it this time. It's Joja all the way. By this time, school was finished, and I gave Penny the leek she requested. On my way to the forest, Alex caught me rummaging through the trash bin. He must not have been too bothered, as he still had time to be a dork face, saying that if I wasn't a girl, he'd ask me to play catch. I played along, suggesting that I wanted to play catch with him, but my sarcasm was lost on him. I finally arrived at my favorite spot to find some... Wait, no. Oh dear. My good luck must have run out as there were no spring onions available to forage today. I decided to fish in the forest stream and caught my 100th fish. I will sell my haul tomorrow as they will be worth more by way of the fisher profession. An hour later, I drifted off to Slumberland, dreaming of the spring onions I hoped to find on day 11. I reached fishing level 5 and chose the fisher profession, making fish worth 25% more. I woke up on day 11 with a letter from the wizard inviting me to his tower in the woods, and Robin had requested that I locate her lost axe. I made fast work of harvesting and watering my crops, and I sold my fish from the day before. My dreams became a reality. A quick trip to the cindersap forest showed my beloved spring onions had returned. I picked up Robin's axe and stopped by the wizard's tower for some funny-smelling forest juice that made me see stuff. The effects of the potion must have still been in my system, as I swear Jas and Vincent convinced me to investigate the sewer because they saw something moving around in there. I'll sleep it off, and I'm sure there won't be anything down there after all. Right? Up to the mountain to return Robin's axe, and I was surprised with a fish spawning spot. I fished for a few hours and dropped off some of my mining treasures at the museum. I didn't have any plans for the evening, so I cleaned up my farm a little. While I was fishing, I found some rice shoots, so I cleared a space for them. I went to bed a little earlier tonight, pleased that I had made a nice amount of money. Day 12 was a very important day. It was the day before the egg festival. My precious cauliflower would be ready to harvest, but I didn't have any seeds to replace them. I had picked up a fetch quest for Marnie the day before, but her shop had been closed when I tried to make the delivery, so while I waited for 9 o'clock to roll around, I searched for spring onions. There were only 2, but I was happy to have them. I dropped off the fish Marnie requested, stopped at the blacksmith for my pickaxe, and while I was there had Clint crush some geodes I had found in the mines. There were quite a few new treasures, so I dropped them off at the museum. Gunther awarded my efforts with some melon seeds I will plant next season. My final stop in town was at Pierre's, where I bought 50 cauliflower seeds. It seemed excessive, but as they are the only crop I am focusing on cultivating for this challenge in spring, I had to go for it. Bye-bye hard-earned cash. Hello, future fortunes. Once home, I did a lot of cleanup around my crops. The bulk of my day was spent chopping trees and planting my seeds. I finished up my task earlier than expected and hiked up to the mountain lake, where I fished for the remainder of the evening. I fished up more rice shoots, but I will have to plant those another day as I was very late returning home. Cutting down those trees paid off. I reached level 3 foraging. My heart was filled with excitement on the dawn of day 13. It was cauliflower day. With each cauliflower I harvested, I planted a mixed spring seed in its place. It took quite a while to water my crops, but the payoff would be well worth it. I shipped all the cauliflower except for 2. one for a possible fetch quest and one for a definite fetch quest from Jody that I'd be receiving in the future. It was time for the Egg Festival. I didn't have a need for strawberry seeds and not enough extra money to spend on decorative items, so instead I took my time chatting with the residents. I posed behind the bunny standee and thought about how cute I looked. I also considered that I had forgotten to forage for spring onions, but that couldn't be helped now. I participated in the egg hunt and won a straw hat. I still had some energy left, so I cut down some trees before turning in for the night. I reached farming level 2 and made some nice coin for my cauliflower. I awoke on day 14 to more cauliflower ready to harvest. Some of my rice shoots were also ready. I didn't have any set plans for the day, aside from more planting, so it was off to Pierre's to pick up 25 more cauliflower seeds. I crafted some basic fertilizer for them, and into the ground they went. I was headed into Cindersap Forest to check for spring onions when a fishing spawn spot appeared. I fished for a few hours and made my way back into town with a daffodil for Haley. She seemed to like the birthday present. I spent the early evening walking around town chatting with my neighbors. I finally made my way back to the forest when Abigail decided to get snotty about losing the egg hunt. There were only 3 spring onions today, but I was able to sell the gold and silver ones. I was in bed early tonight, satisfied that Abigail is bitter. I reached farming level 3. On day 15, I woke up feeling lucky, and the TV confirmed it. It was also salmonberry season, and if there's one thing I love more than spring onions, it's salmonberries. I had my heart set on venturing into the mines today, so I watered my crops, harvested my 2 cauliflower, and was off to the forest. Good luck means lots of spring onions, so I scooped them up and grabbed any berries along the way. I ran into Leah as I cut through town, and she judged me for wanting to be a successful pizza maker. Next time I'll be sure to lie so you like me. It seemed to work with Alex. I reached the mines and chowed down on a bunch of gold-quality spring onions. Tending all of my crops is doing a number on my stamina, but it will be worth it in the long run. Until then, gotta keep on snacking. I was flying through the mines. Ladders were showing up everywhere, but not as much copper ore as I originally anticipated. I was okay with that. I found one of my favorite weapons, the wood club. It's considerably stronger than the femur I was bashing bugs with, so I was excited. As afternoon changed over to evening, I lucked out with a motherload of copper. It was starting to get late, and at floor 39, I crafted my first of possibly many staircases and made it to level 40, where I was granted the slingshot. I left the mines with 72 pieces of copper and went to bed very late. I reached level 2 combat and level 3 mining. When I left the farmhouse on day 16, the forage was ready from the mixed spring seeds I had planted. Dad sent me $500 that Grandpa had left for me, and I was off to town for more cauliflower seeds. Today was the last day I could plant them, so it was imperative that I grab them while I could. I arrived at Pierre's, and Morris of Joja Corporation was handing out coupons for 50% off. This made Pierre sad, which made me happy. Abigail is still a hater, and Pierre is miserable. I bought my seeds with the realization that soon I'll be able to purchase my Joja membership. On the way back to my farm, Haley delivered a sick burn regarding my appearance. It seemed she forgot that daffodil I gifted for her birthday. After planting my seeds and some fertilizer for them, it was back into the mines. It was more challenging to find the ladders today, but I did find a nice group of iron ore. I left the mines early and sold the femur bone I had been brandishing, then off to Cindersap Forest for some night foraging. I stocked up on a few spring onions, salmon berries, and miscellaneous goodies before heading to bed for the night. Day 17 had arrived, and with it some harvestables by way of my spring mixed seeds and rice shoots. I was off to Cindersap Forest, and before you could say, "Top of the morning to you laddies," I had found the proverbial pot of gold. I also found a fish spawning spot, so I fished for a while before donning a new hat. The luck of the Irish must have been with me as I fished up more rice shoots. Once the fish stopped biting, I was off for spring onions, and Leah confessed that she stepped on a bug. That afternoon, I turned in a fetch quest for George and received a prize token for my trouble. I hit the jackpot with a peach tree sapling. I will be harvesting and selling the fruit since it was free. I went to the library and dropped off some elvish jewelry I found Abigail there. She apologized in advance in case she said anything rude, and I decided to be the bigger person and give her a loved gift, an amethyst I found when fishing. No hard feelings here. I ran into Alex cradling his security blanket, football. Go long indeed. I sold some forage and cleared some space for my new peach tree. The remainder of the evening was spent cleaning up the farm. While I drifted off to slumberland, I heard a strange plane over my head and lots of little boxes hitting the roof. I wondered what that was all about. I reached level 6 fishing. Day 18 was another good luck day. After watering my crops, I was off to the forest to search for spring onions. It was Pam's birthday, so I surprised her with one of her loved gifts, a parsnip. It was time for a snack of spring onions and mine exploration. I found some tundra boots to replace my sneakers and a wooden hammer to replace my wooden club. I made some good progress in the mines and sold my sneakers and club to Marlin. I reached level 4 mining. I awoke on day 19 to some cauliflower and rice ready to harvest. I crafted a recycling machine for all the trash I had been fishing up. After gathering 2 spring onions, a fish spawning spot appeared in the forest. What luck! I had hoped to get some fishing done today. Once the spot dried up, I went into town to find another spot. I fished some more before making my way to Willie's to sell my haul. I was going to buy a nicer fishing rod until I saw that the iridium rod was available and just out of my price range. I was off to Clint's to have the blacksmith process some geodes and drop the findings off at the museum, where Gunther gave me a starfruit seed and a decorative geode for my farm. I returned to the beach to fish up a herring to fulfill a fetch quest for Penny. At the farm, I crafted 2 more smelting furnaces and realized I forgot to check my mail, where Willie had told me about the iridium rod being available. Whoops! Jody requested a cauliflower, and I'd been saving one for her so I could get that done the following day. I cleaned up the farm a bit before heading to bed. I reached level 4 farming and level 4 foraging. Lots of chores were on the agenda for the morning of day 20. After tending to my crops, I delivered Jody's cauliflower, Alex's leek, and as it was Shane's birthday, I brought him a parsnip. I think he liked it. It was already early afternoon, so I skipped spring onion foraging in favor of booking it to the mines. It was a good luck day, so my priority was attempting to get to the lower levels ASAP. Starting at level 80, I can mine gold. Gold is used in the quality sprinklers I'm hoping to unlock in early summer. I mined up a fair amount of iron and was just shy of reaching level 70 when I had to return home. Before heading into my farmhouse, I noticed that a soggy newspaper I had placed in the recycling machine earlier had turned into cloth. I put another in before going to bed very late. Emily was waiting outside of my farmhouse on day 21. She somehow knew that I had obtained some cloth and invited me to use her sewing machine. That was nice. My crops watered, I went to see Willie for my new fishing rod. I tried it out and then was off to the blacksmith so Clint could crush some more geodes for me. I dropped off the new minerals to Gunther and was back to fishing. You see, Willie had posted 2 fetch quests back to back. One required 4 sunfish, the other 4 sardines. The sunfish quest expired today, so I finished that up and turned it in before tackling, see what I did there, the sardines. Once those were fished up, I turned that into Willie. Willie had given me a prize ticket for the sunfish quest, so I exchanged it for some mixed seeds. I'll plant those in the summer. There were no spring onions today. Boo! But a fish spawning spot appeared in the forest. I fished until my inventory was full and cleaned up the farm a bit before bed. It was Demetrius who was waiting for me on my porch on the morning of day 23. It seemed he wanted to conduct some experiment or something on the cave on my farm. I could either grow mushrooms or invite bats to bring me fruit. As mushrooms are found on pizza, I chose mushrooms. Mayor Lewis wrote to inform me I was deemed Best Neighbor of the Month. For all of the fetch quests I had completed, I was awarded 500 gold. After a quick jaunt to the cindersap forest for my beloved spring onions, I was off to Clint's, where I asked the blacksmith for an upgrade. The realization was hitting that I most likely would not have all of the sprinklers I wanted by summer, so rather than fuss about, I bit the bullet and just upgraded my watering can. I fished at the pier until my inventory was full, sold my haul to Willie, bought some more bait, and fished some more. I returned to the farm that evening to sell more fish and forage. Then I was off to the mountains. I sold the extra wooden mallet and felt pleased with the amount of fish I sold that day. I reached fishing level 7. I had a plan for day 23, mining and lots of it. Before I left the farm, I had 2 pieces of mail. One informed me that my farm would be featured in the paper, and the other that the flower dance would be taking place tomorrow. I was off to the mines. I obtained the master slingshot, which is nice I suppose, but I won't ever really use it. At level 80, I obtained the Templar's blade, which isn't bad. I love my wooden mallet, but right now this sword will be what I will need to get through the rest of the mines. I made it back home with little time to spare before I realized that with tomorrow's festival, I would be unable to pick up my watering can from Clint. I reached mining level 5 and chose the miner profession, which gives me +1 ore per vein. I reached level 3 combat. Day 24 was the flower dance. It was also the first day I had mushrooms available in my farm cave. I put 5 common mushrooms into the dehydrator and shipped off the poisonous one. I know that poison mushrooms don't belong on pizza, but I'm not going to just throw it away. I had many cauliflower ready to harvest, and these may be the last ones. Without my trusty watering can, it's possible I will not get to see the last batch through to harvest. In a last-ditch effort, I stopped by the blacksmith's to see if Clint was open before the festival. He was not. I perused Pierre's wares at the festival and chatted with everyone. Nobody likes me well enough to dance with me, so I simply observed and considered how much more everyone would like me once I was a successful pizza maker. I reached level 5 farming and chose the tiller profession, making crops worth 10% more. I woke up on day 25 feeling extra lucky. I found a nice patch of spring onions waiting for me in the cindersap forest. Sadly, these are a spring-only forage item, and summer is right around the corner, so I'm going to cherish them while they're here. I picked up my new and improved steel watering can from Clint and returned to the farm to water my crops. I set up my furnaces in the cave's entrance, so every 5 floors I could smelt some gold bars. I made it 10 floors, and on floor 90 I found the Wicked Chris. I'm not a huge fan of the daggers, but it's stronger than the Templar blade, so I'll give it a whirl. I packed up my furnaces and had them set up to smelt while I slept. I had one thing on my mind on day 26, cleaning up the farm. But before I could get started, I had some business in town. It was Pierre's birthday. He put on a brave face, insisting that he was going to fight Joja with all of his might. Joja. Oh, that's right! I needed to sign up for my membership. Thanks for reminding me, buddy. Oh, and here, have a daffodil. I went straight to Joja and signed up. Starting tomorrow, I'll be able to put some of my hard-earned money toward community improvements. I returned to the farm and grabbed some materials to give to Robin to construct a silo for me. I will be raising cows and pigs in the future, and I'll need a silo before I can even consider a barn. Plus, I want to clean up my farm, and having some of that pesky grass out of the way would be a big help. The rest of the day was spent setting up a dedicated area for smelting and staging areas for new crops. I have a good feeling that I'll be able to harvest my cauliflower after all, and that means level 6 farming, which means quality sprinklers. I can't wait to see what tomorrow brings. I went to bed early, satisfied that I made Pierre's birthday a memorable one. On day 27, I woke up to a pleasant surprise. Many of my cauliflower were ready to harvest. It appears that the season will end before all of them are available. and I might not make level 6 farming before the start of the summer, but it will be very close. It was the next to last day for my spring onion foraging, so I grabbed them and went straight to Joja to ponder what community benefit I wanted to unlock first. I might want to unlock the greenhouse, as there are no crops for me to grow in winter and only wheat in the fall. I'll have to think about this some more. What would you unlock first? I popped down to Clint's and had the blacksmith crush some geodes for me. I handed off the new ones to Gunther and went to visit Emily. It was her birthday, and I gave her a topaz. I didn't have any plans for the day, so I went to the mines. It wasn't a good luck day, but that didn't stop me from snagging a fair amount of gold ore. I made it about 7 floors and headed home. I reached level 4 combat. I reached level 6 mining. It was the last day of spring, day 28. I have been crafting mixed spring seeds as placeholders for the upcoming season. This ensures that weeds, branches, and rocks will not spawn in those areas on the first day of summer. Sure, I could have sold that forage for a little money, but time is money, and I'd rather save myself time on the first day of the season, so I try to craft as many of these seeds as I can. Got to work scything the grass to turn it into hay for my new silo. It makes me so happy to have all of this cleared away. Walking through the grass slows you down, and I can feel the difference. It was the last day for spring onions until next spring. I gathered the few that were left and headed into the mines. I reached level 100, and with it, a star drop, which will increase my total energy. This is going to be a big help in summer, where I plan to have even more crops. I made it to level 105 and headed home for the evening. With summer just around the corner, it was time to say goodnight. I'm going to leave it here, and I'll be back for summer. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you'll be notified when a new video comes out. Please leave your comments and suggestions down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.